Hey viewers, welcome back to another Team Player Gaming video. So I did an interview with Morrab over on Twitch. He's great. You guys should definitely check him out. He does a lot of live plays, and lately he's been interviewing all kinds of content creators, not just me. His link is down in the description, so definitely go check him out. Anyway, I'd like to show you guys the full interview that me and him did, but unfortunately, we lost the first 12 minutes of it. But the bulk of the interview is intact. So let's just get right into it.
Anyone watching this later on, we did a little bit of a preamble chat. We were just talking about the different hunter's edges and the use of different, not only different conditions to do teamwork in Pathfinder 2e, but also even not using conditions, just using good tactics and strategy and like battlefield positioning to be able to deny enemies' actions was what we were talking about. So you were saying if you can just use actions and spells and so forth to deny enemies their actions. That's just another way of teamwork, yeah. Right?
Right, yes. So, I was talking about the Mud Pit spell. So, I know a lot of people aren't going to take that spell because it doesn't do damage. However, it creates quite a huge area. I mean, a 15-foot burst of difficult terrain. If you're going up against a bunch of enemies, that can be ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Well, it reminds. I mean, I think most older players of the game and of D&D as well will know the utility of spells like Grease, Entangle, hell, Create Pit, the Create Pit line from Pathfinder 1e. Like it's always been the case in Pathfinder, D&D, and similar sort of that sort of genre. The mage's function is less to explode people and do damage, and more to use control and sort of battlefield AoE spells to set up a position so that the character that's really good at that kind of combat, like the fighter or the ranger, for instance, can really take on their enemies in a position of strength, right?
Oh yeah, spellcasters have a lot more options, especially in Pathfinder 2e, than people think. I hear complaints all the time with, oh, spellcasters don't do enough damage. Fighters and rangers can do so much more damage than a spellcaster can. But I'm sitting here like, oh, well, what spellcasters are meant to do in Pathfinder 2e is battlefield control, conditions,
Yeah, absolutely.
And doing damage to multiple enemies.
Right, and I feel like that's something the community and players historically undervalue, right? Even if mathematically it's a good option, because it doesn't feel like, and again, this is going back to what I was talking about with regards to feeling like you're contributing to an encounter. If you're not dropping enemies, then sometimes it feels like you're not contributing, but what's difficult to appreciate sometimes, but mathematically sometimes superior, if you hit, like, say 4 or 5 enemies with like an electric arc or a burning arc or like a fire or even a fireball, hell, and you do, like, I don't know, 16 or 17 damage to each of them. Like, if you actually tot up the amount of numbers in terms of the amount of damage you're doing, if you actually tot up the value that you have gotten out of making it so that each of your other player characters in your party can have an effective turn by bringing someone else down, right, then that not only is that teamwork, but also you are contributing. You're just contributing in a way that's not immediately apparent, right?
Right, exactly. And the other thing is that the flat foot, there are a lot of things that can impose the flat-footed condition.
Yeah, absolutely. Even more so than in Starfinder.
Yeah, but the thing is, people forget about the effects that make the opponent flat-footed to everyone.
Yeah. No, I mean, hell, whatchamacallit, we're talking about fighters and teamwork. In my Thursday Pathfinder 2e game, one of the most effective things that our fighter can do is combat grab. You know the combat grab feat?
Oh, yes. My fighter actually had that too.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it?
It is, yes. But even if you're not a fighter, just trip. What people forget is that tripping and grappling them makes them flat-footed to everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, people forget that all the time. You know? And
but it's worth noting. Yeah, go ahead.
Another example is I happen to know that almost everyone forgets about the blood magic of the sorcerer. Those are great teamwork. Yes. So, blood magic, essentially, whenever you cast a spell from your bloodline, you get an additional effect. And that effect is usually something that's really good for teamwork.
Okay, like...
For instance, the Draconic bloodline, whenever you cast a bloodline spell on someone, they gain a +1 to AC.
Nice.
In addition to the effects of the spell.
Which is, particularly at low levels, a surprisingly hard buff to get, right?
Yes. At low levels, it's really hard to get, yes. So, one of the bloodline spells for the Draconic bloodline is haste.
Nice.
So think about it. You cast haste on someone, they gain a +1 to AC and an extra action.
Right. And again, I think it's fair to say that haste is one of the spells that, even though it is a teamwork option, is one of the spells that historically players do value as opposed to not value. But haste in 2e particularly is an excellent option. For instance, my 15th level Pathfinder 2e players at the moment went up against a level 20 Pit Fiend recently. They were reasonably on par with regards to treasure and so forth. It should have been an extremely difficult fight, and to be fair, it was an extremely difficult fight. But one of the reasons that they were able to maintain an advantage, and one of the reasons they were able to drive that Pit Fiend away, and they almost killed them, was because of a combination of they used a heightened cast of the Bard used a heightened cast of haste on 10 targets, including several sort of friendly NPC allies, giving them the quickened condition, right? And they also managed to set up a heightened slow on the Pit Fiend and several of the Pit Fiend's sort of attendant devils, which meant the action advantage they had there, with multiple people having the slowed condition for multiple turns, and them having the quickened condition for a very long time, meant that they were just able to dominate in the action economy, which in turn means their damage was almost their damage was sort of average for their sort of character classes, but they were able to win the fight because they'd set those options up cleverly, right?
Exactly. Yeah, but you don't even have to. Tripping is another way that you can make them waste actions too.
What would you say your favorite trip build is?
I'm sorry?
What would you say your favorite trip build is? Like, if you were going to pick a character that could trip people in Pathfinder 2e, what class would you play?
I'd probably play either a barbarian or a fighter.
Ooh, a barbarian. Okay.
Yeah.
Why a barbarian?
Well, put it to you this way: barbarians are amazing at grappling. So what I would do is I would trip them, and then I would grapple them.
Nice.
Yeah,
the combo sort of thing. Yeah, right.
Because one of the things that there's a barbarian feat that literally says, I just hit them. Now I can automatically grapple them. No roll whatsoever.
Nice.
I hit them. I now grapple them.
That's awesome. Which feat is that?
I'd have to look. I actually have the book right here.
Yeah, man. That sounds like an awesome feat. We've got. I've got some players that have taken Barbarian as a multi-class dedication. So if it's a particularly low-level feat, then it sounds like the kind of feat that they'd absolutely enjoy taking.
Yeah. Just give me a second.
Yeah.
Here.
No worries. No pressure,
right
man.
Here. Yeah. Barbarian.
But while you're looking for that, man, so like I say, I really appreciate the sort of focus on teamwork of your content and your videos and so forth. Like I say, I think it's a fundamentally underappreciated area, because I feel like a lot of people turn up to sort of role-playing games as individuals, but in actual fact, it is a cooperative game, and with more focus on using the options that are there to be able to cooperate with your party members and not only win encounters as a team, but just generally be better players with each other. I feel like the game in general gets better if we focus on those sorts of aspects, because we're working together then. So what inspired you to want to make content focused on like teamwork and sort of party mechanics?
Well, okay, so one of the things, so I used to think exactly like most players, you know?
Sure.
Just damage. But when I started my YouTube channel, I started to think, why is combat was getting boring to me.
Right.
And as I'm sure it is for just about everyone. And so then I started to think, okay, why is it boring?
Sure.
And what I came up with is, yes, it's all about damage. You know, once I started playing games from a teamwork standpoint, not only were the combats easier, but I hardly ever use the same action over and over and over again when I'm thinking about teamwork. When I'm thinking about teamwork, I'm thinking about strategy.
Right.
I'm like, okay, the druid did this, so what's the best thing for me to do?
Yeah, absolutely. So you think that if you focus on the game from that perspective, as opposed to focusing on it from the perspective of building like the most powerful character yourself, you think that improves the gameplay experience then, and that's what you want to tell people.
It definitely improves the combat for sure.
Yeah, no, I agree. I absolutely agree. So it was just boredom then. Like, did you get to? Was it in 1E or was it with the move to 2E? You just decided I'm just going to try something different.
I suppose when I started thinking about teamwork, it was when I was playing my Inquisitor during one of my last games that I played in 1E. You know?
Okay. Did you?
I had all those teamwork feats, so I was trying to get the other players to start taking teamwork feats, because I'm like, these teamwork feats are awesome.
Right, yeah, like you've got solo tactics and you're sort of benefiting from the teamwork feats anyway, but you're kind of like, man, if they had outflank as well, we'd both get an attack on a critical hit, like both get an attack of opportunity. If they had precise strike, we'd be doing so much more damage. If they had blades above and below, then we'd all be in a much better position. Yeah, absolutely. Exactly. No, I totally feel you on that one. Like, I've played a Cavalier before, and one of the most fun things in 1E for me was using a archetype that built on the tactician feature of the Cavalier to be able to sort of give teamwork feats out to everybody. And likewise, have you played Pathfinder Kingmaker, the Owlcat games?
I have not.
Oh man, if you like teamwork feats, if you get I understand you might not get the opportunity to or whatever, but if you like teamwork feats, at least in 1E, Kingmaker makes teamwork feats some of the most powerful feats in the game. It's one of the great things about it for me was that it got quite a few of my 1E players to really appreciate the power of them in 1E. But you're right, in 1E they were still quite difficult to access, and they did require a level of coordination between players. Whereas 2E, did you do any videos for 1E, or was it with 2E that you started doing videos as well?
It was with 2E that I started doing videos.
Cool. Did you start with the CRB or like?
I started with the CRB, yeah. At the time, though, I didn't really know what I wanted to do.
Sure.
With videos,
it's difficult to know what to focus on, right?
It is. But yeah, like I said, when I started 2E, that was when I really started thinking about the whole teamwork thing, But I didn't want to do videos on it because I didn't think, at the time, that anybody would watch.
Okay.
But, about 2 months ago, I started thinking, you know, maybe people will actually watch this.
I hope so. They're good.
And I'm glad I did. I'm, you know,
good.
My video on 10 actions that are better than making a third attack has like 700 views.
Oh, nice. In fact, let me just grab. What was that called? 10 actions.
10 actions, and it's called something like 10 actions in Pathfinder 2e that are better than making a third attack.
2e, and let me just get that up, and I'll drop the link into the Twitch. Better than making a third attack, because that obviously map. That was interesting. You talking about grappling and tripping people, because one of the trickiest things for marshals to sort of inflict conditions on people, I find, is dealing with map, because the penalties get sort of considerably multi-attack penalty. The penalties get considerably more prohibitive, right?
So here's the thing. That's where the assurance feat comes in.
Ah, yes, I've heard this before. Yeah.
Yes, the assurance feat. You can get a set roll on your athletics with no bonuses or penalties. Just straight up, you get 10 plus your proficiency bonus.
Right.
Which if you're legendary in athletics, that's actually really high.
Right, yeah, it's certainly very strong at high levels. Although, of course, it does somewhat rely on, and I feel like this is, again, this is a DM problem, partially, rather than a GM problem, rather than a player problem. It does somewhat depend on having a fair GM who also throws like different levels of reasonable numbered encounters at you, right? Because one of the problems a lot of people in 2e have is the keeping up with the scaling numbers of the surprisingly well-balanced monsters. So sometimes I've had players before who have considered taking assurance, but they've been worried about it because it means that, you're right, at legendary level it's quite, you know, effective, but at lower levels often the problem with assurance, particularly with some of the maneuvers like, say, disarm, for instance, where the success condition isn't particularly useful immediately, it can be a bit underwhelming, right? Because you're normally getting like the failure condition rather than the success condition.
Right.
Do you have any tips for sort of for those kinds of builds? Because obviously it's difficult to improve assurance's bonuses because of the sort of restriction of the feat. Do you have any other sort of tips for people to sort of deal with multi-attack penalty, to be able to inflict conditions on people? Not
really, no. But then again, I've just recently started doing this teamwork thing. So
sure, yeah, that's okay, man. That's okay.
I'm gonna have to look into that.
Maybe you can do a future video on it.
Yeah, but I will tell you that yes, disarm is not good at all. It is. I mean, you're not gonna get a critical success very often.
No.
The success really only applies on attacks of opportunity,
right?
Which way less monsters than you think have attacks of opportunity.
Yeah, which to be fair, it is a good thing for other reasons. Like, it's a good thing in terms of the balance of the game. It makes attack of opportunity a special thing that when monsters have it, you know, you have to play around it. But at the same time, you're right. It means that the disarm condition gets even less valuable, which is a pity, because, like, for instance, again, in my homebrew game, I've considered sort of house ruling it so that the success condition actually involves them being disarmed, and then like the critical success condition involves them either being disarmed or like being able to take their weapon off them, like so that you can wield it with the critical success condition. Yeah. It feels like an easy thing to fix.
Yes, it would be an absolutely easy thing to fix. I just don't know if Paizo will do it.
Nah, well, it's tricky, isn't it? Because it's core.
But before we go, I do want to talk about a couple other things.
Yeah, no, go.
So let's take a look at our poll here first.
Yeah, so let me just jump onto the Discord server as well, because I was running it both. I had a number of votes on the Twitch poll before it crashed, unfortunately, because the first poll was running while before the poll went live. But no, we had a couple of votes down there, and some people have sent me a couple of DMs as well. So it's looking like people are mostly leaning towards either flurry or precision, which is interesting. I mean, I think outwit is a bit I think it's undervalued, but are you going to make
it really is. Did anybody pick outwit?
I haven't seen someone pick outwit yet, no, which is unfortunate.
Okay. Yeah, it really is. The thing is that that poll kind of shows me that outwit is definitely underused. I feel like it's the most interesting one. You know? If I'm playing a ranger, I'm picking outwit almost every time.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
And the reason is because it makes combat more interesting. You know, the other two are about damage. Outwit is about strategy.
I mean, you certainly have to strategize to get the best use out of it, right?
Yes.
What do you think the best thing you can do in concert with the outwit edge is?
In concert with it, I would say focus. If you're playing an outwit ranger, focus on snares.
Ooh, okay, sure. Yeah. It raises the DC of your snares, right?
Yes, it can raise the DC of your snares. Yes.
I'll admit, I haven't used a ranger that uses it yet. Have you done a video on this?
I have not.
Ah, well, when you do, man, chuck it into the Discord server, because it is a style of play that I feel like 2E has enabled much more than 1E. And I know that there are some people who have previously sort of asked me about playing like trappers or hunting sort of characters before in other games that would probably be quite interested. If I'm thinking of one of the players in my current homebrew game, if traps are much more of a viable option, particularly with using the Hunter's Edge outwit, then I'm sure they'd be interested in watching a video.
Okay, yeah. I mean, currently I'm trying to do Secrets of Magic stuff.
Right,
Understandable. Which brings me to my other point. I have actually done it hasn't gone up on YouTube yet, but it will go up after this interview. But that is, I did a video on the Cathartic Magic from Secrets of Magic. It's an optional rule that GMs can use.
Okay.
That allows players to use a certain emotion to power up their spells.
Ah, okay. So how does it work exactly?
Well, essentially how it works is, it depends on the emotion.
Sure.
But you get this particular reaction that whose trigger and effect depends on your emotion. So, like, anger is you take damage. The trigger is.
Okay.
And
cool.
And the effect of the reaction is that if you're like grabbed or restrained or something, then you can try to escape as that reaction.
Cool. Yeah.
And after you use that reaction for 3 rounds, you get what's called an emotional fervor.
Okay.
Now, that effect depends on your emotion again, but for anger, it's you essentially gain the dangerous sorcerer feat.
Oh, nice.
3 rounds.
Nice, yeah.
Those 3 rounds.
That's a pretty good boost. So are you thinking there's like a teamwork use there to sort of trigger these effects in the first place? Right,
exactly. However, once those 3 rounds are over, you gain an emotional fallout, which is a negative effect.
To sort of balance the effect, right.
Right. Yeah, after the 3 rounds, you gain a negative effect. Until you do something called Settle Your Emotions, which is some kind of, like, mundane task.
Right, a bit like refocusing, right?
Right, a bit like refocusing, yes. And then, if you take a certain feat from the archetype, you get a focus spell as well. These are usually cleric focus spells. I think there's one that's a witch focus spell.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I haven't looked at the witch
ones. More
ones.
Cleric focus spells.
Okay.
Yeah. And how you refocus for those is by settling your emotions.
Right. Okay. That does sound really cool. Have you put a video out on this, or are you gonna put a video out on this?
I'm gonna put it. It's on YouTube, but it's unlisted right now. I'm gonna put it on public as soon as this video's over.
Oh, amazing! Okay. In which case, when like I say, when you do, chuck it into the Discord channel, either general or off topic, so people watching this can have a look at it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because you're right, that does sound pretty awesome. And those were sorcery options, right?
So the thing is that.
Or can anyone use cathartic magic?
So, yeah. Anyone can use it.
Oh, that's awesome. So it's an optional subsystem.
Anyone can use it, and you can use it with any spell list.
Cool.
The thing is, if you're not a caster, you become a spontaneous caster. But if you're a caster, then you gain. Taking the dedication gives you an extra cantrip. In fact, it gives you 2 extra cantrips.
I mean, that's pretty strong. That's one of the nicest thing. That's one of the nicest things about the multi-class dedications, right? Is getting access to the cantrips and sort of broadening your range of options, considering how good they've been made in comparison to 1E.
The only problem is that this is uncommon. It's an uncommon rule.
Okay, sure.
Because the reason is because GMs have to do a lot of
extra work
to allow this, because effects that would normally be detrimental to PCs can actually power them up with this archetype.
Oh, that's interesting. That is interesting, but you're right. I can see it being a bit complicated, so it's one of those talk to your GM advisory warnings sort of thing, right?
Yeah, right, exactly. But not just your GM, you should also talk to the other players.
Right, yeah, particularly if you're going to use them.
Because some of these have what's called an emotional focus.
Okay.
Which can be a PC.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So definite interesting potential there for roleplay, but at the same time, definitely the sort of thing that not only do you want to talk about it probably in a session 0 to make sure that everybody's on board with, but also like to discuss in concert with another PC that you might want to have as an emotional focus. So that's really cool, though. That's like a sort of nice optional subsystem to sort of increase bonds between players, which again ties into the teamwork focus. So I can see why you're interested in it. That's awesome. So that video is, like I say, that video is going to go live immediately after we finish this video, right?
Right.
Awesome.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, as it happens, we're coming up on just after the 5 o'clock sort of mark. So, in the interest of getting 5 o'clock here, don't worry, man. Different time zones. So, in the interest of getting that video out soon, and thank you. Thank you for coming along. I feel like we've gotten a little bit of an insight into why you do what you do. And like I say, everybody, this is Drew from Team Player Gaming. So if you're watching this now or later, then do check out his YouTube channel, which he's going to chuck a link to in the Discord after this, so that you can have a look at some teamwork-specific focused content and really get the best out of some of the underused options in Pathfinder 2e, right?
Right.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming along, sir. And I hope you do come onto the stream again. And if I have any cool Pathfinder 2e games that you might well be interested in, I'll hit you up. All right?
Great.
Awesome. All right.
That's good.
See you, stream.
And that's going to wrap up this video. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. You can also check out my Facebook and my Twitter pages. But if you really want to support me, you can check out my Patreon page. Links are in the description. I'm going to continue my Secrets of Magic coverage in the next few weeks, so look out for those videos. And until next time, remember, teamwork is vital.